Hello and good morning everyone, and thank you for joining our VMware vCloud Air webinar today. So we're joined here by John Rogers from VMware, who will be going through the presentation with you, and then also Sebastian, who will be doing a quick demo near the end of the webinar.
So the agenda I'm going to cover off this morning is to run through a high-level overview of the vCloud Air service. Going to go through what we have here called our client success team. We call them our onboarding team. We're going to go through a few slides around our CMP, as we call it, our cloud management platform. We're going to pass it on then to Seb here, who's one of our cloud services engineers, to run through Hybrid Cloud Manager, which has recently become GA, along with our advanced networking services. So just to get going, so typically this is what we see as our 5 ways to get started from customer use cases within our vCloud Air platform. So typically what we've seen from driving vCloud Air business within the UK going on 2 years now, these use cases have predominantly been very good use cases. Disaster recovery. So you can see here we offer simple low-cost failover and failback recovery. So existing VMware customers who have vSphere on-prem, they have vSphere replication as part of vSphere. We now use an agent called vSphere replication to allow customers to migrate VMs when invoking disaster from on-premise into disaster recovery as a service which resides in our vCloud Air platform. So, you know, a very simple, cost-effective solution. It's an enterprise-grade disaster recovery platform that we have. And we have seen a lot of good uptake from that from customers within EMEA and globally for this service. The next use case, we look at extending what customers have. So extending your data center. You've already virtualized maybe 80 or 90% of your on-prem data center. We now want to take what you virtualize. So any applications, any workloads that sit in your on-prem environment, we now want to move them. So we want to say, here's a connection between your data center and our public cloud within vCloud Air. We want to take that application and move that application for you. So extend it from on-prem into the public cloud. So allow you to move resources into the cloud, but back on-prem as well. So we have a tool here in VMware which we call vCloud Connector. It's our migration tool which allows you to do exactly what we say, extend that application into the public cloud. But if you want to move it back on-prem, you can just fail that back on-prem, however you like to do so. So again, it's all to do with the compatibility. The hypervisor you're virtualized on is vSphere. We've built our public cloud on our vSphere hypervisor as well. So effectively, the workload thinks it's sitting on the same network because it's hypervisor to hypervisor. So that allows us to bring in elements of having the same security, high availability, fault tolerance, vMotion. It all comes into play because we're built on the same hypervisor. So the next use case we look at is test and dev. 100% compatibility. Again, we're looking at taking that, capacity that customers have on-prem and saying, how do you want to utilize this capacity? Do you want to free this capacity? Do you want to move this capacity from your on-prem data center into a public cloud? And that's really been a good use case for customers because, if you want to do some regression testing, some upgrades of applications that you have, you simply can just move them into our development testing platform, do whatever development you want there, move it back on-prem should you like to do so, or else just leave it there in the public cloud. So it gives you a way of getting a return of investment from freeing up some of that capacity internally. The next use case, we are being flooded from this web and mobile app development. We have developers which have come to us and say, we want to do this development of web applications, mobile apps. We've got tablets. We've got every sort of device that have some form of an application or a workload that we need to start deploying that into a public cloud. So, it says here what we're trying to do. We're trying to accelerate web and mobile app development because we are now getting developers doing this in public cloud. And this time to market really is what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to get customers to develop these applications, as quickly as they can, turn them around, deploy them, test them, and then put them into production. So this is what we're seeing a lot of customers do on the back end for web and mobile. Our final use case, really, we talk about cloud-hosted desktop. So we have another platform which we call Horizon Air. So Horizon Air for us is basically a cloud-hosted desktop in a public cloud. So if you are a VMware customer, maybe not everybody is, but we do provide on-premise licensing called VDI for virtual desktop. We provide View and Horizon. We now are taking that on-prem solution and moving it into a public cloud. What does that mean, for customers? We are trying to increase that end user productivity. We're trying to streamline operations. We're trying to, take what you have on-prem. It's all about, freeing up a lot of capacity. Data centers are expensive to run. Hosting is expensive. We're trying to take that from the equation and move you into a more agile structure in which it sits in the VMware cloud and it's fully managed by VMware. So just moving on to, what VMware call our true hybrid cloud. The hybridity is a big word that we hear out there today, and the reason we hear this hybrid cloud is that if you look at typical data center options that you have today, we look at a customer data center, a co-location facility, a managed service. We have a managed service provider platform as well. Any form of customized hosting. This is typically what we see from a data center standpoint today, in which customers have already virtualized in some form within a data center. If we look at this hybrid model in which VMware is approaching customers with, if you see all of the key features in the middle in the green, that's what we're really discussing and focusing on with our customers. We're saying, you have already virtualized your data center, we have a public cloud. We want to give you that hybrid connection in which we can move that vApp, that workload, that service into our public cloud, but at the same time we utilize all these benefits. So this elastic consumption model, we allow you to grow at your own pace. You can add resource whenever you need it. For peak times, reduce it back should you not require it. This is totally up to you to manage it from a customer standpoint. Any management tools that you're already familiar with, again, you can deploy them if they're integrated on the vSphere platform within your data center. We can use their management tools within the vCloud Air platform. Networking, again, we talk about networking. We've just gone GA with advanced networking services, in which we're doing a full layer 2 stretch now. We're talking about hybrid cloud manager. We're doing live migrations while VMs are powered on from on-prem into vCloud Air and back on-prem. We're really getting, into the next phase of technology around the networking, which we'll cover off in a few slides. Some of the other things, the features that we talk about, so a predictable billing model. We're now showing customers this is the cost for your resource allocation for 1 month, for 6 months, 12, 24, 38. Customers want that predictable billing model in which they can show back to the business how much the resource consumption is costing the business. And again, around common security, all the security that's aligned to them VMs or workloads that we're moving into vCloud Air. We now have micro-segmentation again as part of networking, in which we can move the policies and the securities associated to that individual VM into the vCloud Air platform. So that's our common platform for our hybridity model that we have. So I'm going to move on to just looking at what core service offerings that we provide VMware for our public cloud platform. So just build it out and show you the core services we have. So we have infrastructure as a service, in which we look at a virtual private cloud and a dedicated cloud. So our virtual private cloud is logically isolated, so it is a multi-tenanted environment. We break this up amongst 3 core stacks here, as we call it, around compute, storage, and networking. So that divides up the resource model that you as a customer would look at going forward if you were to procure a service within cloud services. So the base resource, as we call it, our own compute, is 20 gigs of RAM, 10 gigahertz of CPU. We offer 2 terabytes of storage. We offer standard or accelerated SSD. And then on the networking side, we offer 10 megs of bandwidth, which is burstable to 50 with 2 public IPs. So this will always be your core base subscription from VMware for a public cloud offering and infrastructure as a service. Like I said, in that elastic consumption model, you can grow this resource allocation however you like. So you need to add more RAM, more CPU, more storage, more networking. Any of them stacks you need to add. That's purely your decision as a customer to grow that environment however you like. We have customers then who don't want to reside on a shared platform, so we look at a dedicated cloud. This is your own physically isolated cloud in which you get 2 physical ESXi hosts, and that makes up this base resource allocation here of 240 gigs of RAM, 35 gigahertz of CPU, 6 terabytes of storage, and then you get your networking associated to it. So, we have customers who have data due to legislation laws. They can't reside on a shared environment, so it has to sit in a dedicated host, so that's fine. They look at this option. Our third offering that we have then, Phil, is our disaster recovery as a service platform. As again, The resource allocation around this stack is made up of compute support networking, similar to our infrastructure as a spring. Again, it's down to you to dictate what kind of resource allocation you need for that. I have a slide on disaster recovery. I'll cover that off in a couple of slides. So how do you connect as a customer to our vCloud Air platforms? We have a couple of different options in which we do an IPsec VPN that predominantly has been the most used service for connecting to the service to date. This is our edge gateway here. As you see on the vCloud Air platform on the right-hand side with the VMs, this little black and gray symbol is our edge gateway. So that's our networking services. That's our termination for our VPNs, firewalling, load balancing, NAT, anything like that takes place, terminates in this edge gateway. So IPsec VPN, and then we offer private WAN connectivity, so some form of an MPLS termination into infrastructure or DR. We offer a direct connect service in which we can take a gig or up to 10 gig into the data center in Slough, cross-connect that into your instance within the service. Again, we can just HTTPS as well over the public internet as an option as well. So multiple options for connectivity into the service. Some of the value add, so some unique selling things from VMware versus some of the competitors that we talk to. When we talk against the likes of AWS, we talk against Microsoft Azure Rackspace. So we do compete with a lot of competitors for cloud services. From a VMware standpoint, we do add a lot of value to the service. As you can see here on the screen, what we offer as a value add is anything to do with firewalling, any ports you want to open, anything you want to deploy from VPNs, load balancing, DHCP, any NAT rules you want to deploy. We have a dedicated team here within VMware who will assist you with deploying any of this from a networking standpoint that you want. We do see a lot of our competitors who do it is a chargeable service for professional services. We are deploying this as an element of professional services, free to our customers who become a vCloud Air our customer. Just move on to the vCloud Air. So we have a dedicated client success team. We call them onboarding. When you become a customer of VMware, you then go on to our onboarding team. As part of our onboarding team, this is the services that we offer you. So we offer you a client success specialist and a cloud services engineer. There is a list of services here that the client success specialist will give you an overview. They will give you an overview of the vCloud Air service. They will go through a demo of the console. They'll show you user access around permission rights. They'll go through any uploading of VMs from a catalog, how to deploy the VM just from the vCloud Air portal, any of the licensing, anything like that you want to understand. The client success specialist does this onboarding with you as a first step when you become a customer for VMware. The next step is, we have a cloud services engineer like Sebastian who's going to go through a few slides in a minute. And he'll go through things like advanced networking services, any DHCP, NAT, firewalling, anything like that you need to deploy within the service from a configuration standpoint. We will cover all that as part of the service. So this is the professional services bit that I mentioned previously that we're adding as no extra cost. Just going to move on to our cloud management platform, so our CMP as we call it. Typically if you are a VMware customer, maybe you're not, we do on-prem SDDC architecture in which customers have a private cloud with vSphere. We now have released vRealize Suite in which we've taken our cloud management platform to the next level. So beyond your data center, spanning across on-prem and off-prem, and really giving that architecture that looks like this middleware, as we call it, the CMP platform, in which we've now introduced cloud operations and cloud automation. So, it's fantastic that you've done operations and automations at the data center level. We now want to take you into the public cloud and start doing automation, operations, and show back that you are consuming in a cloud platform to show you, showing the business that this is what we are paying for that service. As I mentioned about our integration previously, around management tools, we also integrate with the likes of Amazon. We do have heterogeneous clouds because we are offering this hybrid model in which our other competitors don't really offer. It's not just a case of procuring a cloud service from VMware. We are all about integration here in VMware. We have a vCloud Air network for our managed service providers as well. So as you can see here from our cloud on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, We do integrate with OpenStack. We have an OpenStack API. We do integrate with Microsoft Azure or Amazon. And then our vCloud Air network of power providers are all part of our service as well. So just this vRealize suite that, let me go back to that around talking about automation operations. From an operations standpoint, we're looking at performance, capacity, configuration, compliance. We really want to, drill down into the operations model of the public cloud to show that capacity utilization, that performance metrics you're getting from drilling down into an application that runs on an individual VM. When we talk about automation, again, we need to bring in self-service provisioning, application service delivery, resource management. That's all our automation. We want to be able to, upload a catalog with a VM, deploy that, and have a template that we use rather than just going through a lot of steps. It's all around provisioning of services as fast as we can. The business side, like I mentioned, we're talking about cost transparency, usage metering. How much. It's very important to understand your usage metering. We see people who acquire lots and lots of resources of services in a cloud platform, but they're not over provisioning. They're just over purchasing on resources that they're paying for that they don't need to be paying for. They need to start provisioning at a more strategic level. And then around our extensibility, like I mentioned, we have open APIs. We have a vCloud API. We have an OpenStack API. For us, it's all about leveraging into investments the customers have already made. So we do have that hybrid model going forward. Some of our locations where we are presently, so we do cover the West Coast to the East Coast in the US. We have some government and federal data centers in the US as well. Around EMEA, we are in the UK. Our data center resides in Equinix in Slough. And then we are in Frankfurt in Germany, in which we have a data center. When we talk about the Southern Hemisphere, we move down towards Southern Australia, and then we have Western Japan. So, all of our data centers are duplicates of what they are within each data center of N+1 with UPS and generator and multiple days of fuel on site. So we don't build data centers because we're a software company, but we do co-locate with the top Fortune 100 customers around the world. Our certifications that we have in place, it's always an important step to show customers that we are fully certified from a standpoint, from a governance level around ISO, SOC 1, SOC 2, HIPAA, and high-tech, and then we have the Cloud Security Alliance. We recently got certified for the government G6 Cloud, so we do have government services available on our platform for consumption from the government network services side of vCloud Air platform. Some momentum that we've gained, from the verticals and different industries that we work with within VMware being a global organization. So you can see we span across government, because we have government services available on the vCloud Air, from technology to healthcare. Financial services is a very important one for us because of the compliance and the governance around financial data. It's very important for us to start getting customers from financial services because, once they have the confidence to put their data in our data centers, they have the most intrinsic laws around governance of data. Once we achieve that from a standpoint, it's very easy for us to start leveraging them as use cases for other customers to deploy into our cloud. Just moving on to, I suppose, showing you how you grow this service at your own pace. This is really down to, like I mentioned previously, that we do allow customers to scale up and scale down. So, you take the basic service from us in VMware, and then you can add on compute, you can add on bandwidth, you can add on networking. However you feel like you need to scale that environment, that is purely up to you. We're not dictating that you need to buy X amount of resource every month, every 6 months. We're based on you. We provision your environment. It's now up to you, customer, to grow as you like. I'm just going to finish off in this slide from my few slides around disaster recovery service. So, simple and secure asynchronous replication, fail over and fail back for our vSphere customers. So this is purely for VMware customers. So you've already virtualized, you are using vSphere replication as part of the vSphere deployment on-prem. We now have this service which we call disaster recovery service, which is on the right-hand side. It is a disaster recovery cloud. It's an instance in which we say, if you need to invoke DR, we will set up vSphere replication. When you invoke DR, we will take these protected virtual machines that you need to fail over into some form of a disaster recovery. We offer an RPO from anywhere from 15 minutes to 24 hours. And if you have a large volume of data, we do offer an encrypted NAS device. We can ship this NAS device to you. We can upload maybe 5, 10 terabytes of data, and you can send it back to us via FedEx, and then we can do that initial upload and then just set them incremental changes anywhere between 15 minutes and 24 hours. It's up to you to dictate what you would like to set that at. And we do offer a 7-day test. You can test unlimited times whenever you like, so you just would create a maintenance window with our global support services team and schedule that 7-day test. We'll do a full failover of all your protected VMs, run them in DR for 7 days, and then flip them back, so fail them back to on-prem, and then you know that you have a fully functional DR service. One of the important things here is that if it does run for longer than 30 days, we do move from DR into infrastructure as a service, because we would be hoping that you would have failed back on-prem, before 30 days. So that just covers my slides. I'm now just going to pass over to Sebastian to cover our advanced networking services piece. Thank you.
Thanks, John. So I'm going to cover one of the new functionalities we introduced in vCloud Air over the last months. A new set of functionalities has been introduced for our dedicated cloud offering only, as far as of now. But I believe they'll be made available for the virtual private cloud and the on-demand offering as early as maybe the end of the year, early next year. So the first set of features that we're going to look at are the ones provided by Hybrid Cloud Manager plugin. The Hybrid Cloud Manager is going to allow you to manage vCloud Air workloads from the vSphere web client and allow you to extend your networks from on-premise environment to vCloud Air. This will provide the users the capability to manage all workloads, including those in vCloud Air, from within the vSphere web client, and basically offer you seamless integration between your on-premise environment and your vCloud Air environment. The way we're going to do that is mainly through two features. One, which will allow you to migrate workloads on and off-premise, or from vCloud Air back to on-premise. And the other one is going to allow you to build stretch layer 2 networks between your on-prem environment and your vCloud Air environment. So first, we're going to have a look at the way you can migrate, the new way to migrate your virtual machine from your on-premise environment to vCloud Air. But for those of you who are familiar with vCloud Connector, see that as its successor. So when before or now, when you use vCloud Connector, you had to morph your VM and wait for the copy to be finished in vCloud Air before you can start using it. We introduced this new tool to minimize the downtimes. So the way it's going to work is it will start the copy of the VM in the background using a Twizzler replication, which is going to be pretty much based on vSphere replication. So the source VM will remain online during the replication, and when the replica is going to be ready in vCloud Air, you're going to be able to switch over. You'll have different ways to switch over. It can be a quick switch over, so as soon as the copy or the synchronization is ready in the cloud, it's going to switch over to the cloud, pouring off the on-prem VM. Or you can have a scheduled switch over, so basically you can decide when the VM is going to be poured on in vCloud Air, because you'll have a maintenance window coming up, or you can even let the Hybrid Cloud Manager decide when is the best time to do the switch over, and basically based on the activity on the VM, it will automatically switch over when the activity is low. In the background, to facilitate this migration, we added some tuning and some features. The source VMDK is going to be encrypted before it's going to be replicated. And we also added some deduplication and compression to minimize the bandwidth utilization. So that's just a very high-level overview of the new virtual machine migration tool, which is going to replace vCloud Connector. The feature, and maybe the most unique one, is pretty straightforward. Basically, it's a feature which is going to give you the ability to stretch a layer 2 network into the cloud. Now, even though that's very basic, that's extremely powerful, because that means that you can use the cloud as an extension to your existing network. That means that you'll be able to retain the same IP address and MAC address. You won't have to do any routing to move your apps into vCloud Air, and it's leveraging the NSX technology. However, you don't need to have NSX on-prem to be able to use it. You're able to do that through basically two components, which are going to be installed, both on-prem and in the vCloud Air session which is going to be provisioned. Those components are going to take resources. However, all these management resources won't be taking any of the resources in vCloud Air. That'll be part of the service. And those three services, which are going to enable those features, are going to be the hybrid cloud gateway, which is going to basically provide the secure channel between your on-prem and cloud environment. The second one is going to be the pretty self-explanatory, is the layer 2 extension, which is going to extend the layer 2 network from within the data center to the cloud, and enable you moving information to the cloud without any IP address changes. And lastly, the one optimization appliance, which is going to improve the performance of the private lines and internet paths by leveraging one optimization techniques like deduplication and line conditioning. To show you really how easy it is to actually implement and set up, I just put a few screenshots together and how to set up the extension, the stretch layer 2 network, and it's really like a three clicks to set up. So even though we have enhanced features, we didn't want to sacrifice to the ease of use, and that's what we did there, and that's what I'm trying to show through the setup. So the way it's been packaged has been packaged really to two package. The difference between the two being how big you want to get. So as I said earlier on, you have to have a dedicated cloud in order to leverage the hybrid cloud manager. And depending on the package, whether you want for standard or premium, it's going to enable you to have more bandwidth and more vCenter connection. Bear in mind that even if you have HCM available for migrating workloads, you can still use vCloud Connector if you feel more comfortable using it, or if you think it's more suited for your needs. So that was kind of a really high-level overview of HCM, or hybrid cloud manager. What I'm going to go through now is the advanced networking services, and what that is put it a bit in perspective, is the vCloud Air advanced networking services here is the public cloud piece of the vCloud Air hybrid networking story. So these are just networking and security service in the public cloud that are enabled by vCloud Air, but ultimately which are leveraging the NSX technology as its underlying networking platform. And I mean, the same way we're going to leverage NSX within vCloud Air, we're going to leverage the rest of the VMware technology to basically power the service. A few features within these advanced networking services, actually 5 of them, maybe the main one being the trust groups or micro-segmentation, and we'll go more in details about that. The other thing we have as well is dynamic routing for BGP and OSPF, enabling you to find the best route between your clouds or your different sites. We have also enhanced network scalability, so that means that when you had only 10 networks available, now you can have up to 200 networks available. You can create within your virtual data center on vCloud Air. We have a high capacity point to SSL VPN, which is going to enable more individual devices, such as laptop, mobile phones, bring your own device kind of thing, which will be able to connect to securely into vCloud Air using SSL certificates without routing through VPN gateway. And lastly, we have enhanced load balancing through the scalable HTTP-based load balancing with log visibility, SSL offload, and other features to have better access to the service. So just have a look at now at the micro-semantic, because I think that's one of the key features we have available within this advanced networking services suite. So The trust group, or as it's called actually here, trust groups. The trust groups just implemented through a distributed and stateful firewall that protects VM at the provision level. So out of control of the user or an attacker for that matter. They are like real firewalls, and they are similar in what a network administrator would use today with a very simple web interface. So the other thing as well is because they're at provision level, they don't slow down performance for latency sensitive applications such as voice over IP. So these micro-segmentation does not only cover individual VM, but also can cover multiple VMs, such as network VApp or even groups of objects. They're also able to isolate VM on the same network, so you no longer need multiple virtual networks or different subnets for effective east-west traffic isolation. Those trust groups are also portable within vCloud Air, meaning that if your application is being moved, the rule will follow the VM as the VM is moved. So with the new micro-segmentation, the firewalls can be applied not just to network, but also to objects. By object, we will mean application. That means that you can define a network or security policy and apply this policy to your VM and by extension to your application. So in the example here, you have an app 1, which could be like a web server, application server, and a database server. And the policy on app 1 not only protects the incoming north-south traffic from vCloud Air, but also the east-west traffic within the vCloud Air production network. Lastly, and for managing purposes, all the firewalls can be copied and duplicated per application or object, and making it very easy to manage and put through the network. So it just again through the way it's being packaged, depending on the scale of what you want to get. From a user perspective, you can have an advanced and standard and an advanced premium package, which is going to allow you to have more or less users depending on the usage you want to have. And that's pretty much conclude the high-level overview over HCM and advanced networking services. So now I thought maybe you would like to have a quick view of what the platform looks like. So I'm gonna share and log into a vCloud Air instance. You should have visibility on my screen. Maybe Amy, if you can confirm, if you can see me.
Yes, yep, we can see your screen.
Yeah, excellent. So I'm going to log into the vCloud Air platform, vca.vmware.com, and I'm going to try remembering the password. So you log in your identifiers, and that will bring you into the dashboard where it's going to show up all the subscription available with your account. Here we see that we have maybe some. So the object storage port by EMC is not available yet, even though you can see it on this instance. But all the rest here would be the kind of services available at present. So if I go into my subscriptions, which is basically my dedicated cloud offering, we're going to see the different dedicated cloud offering I subscribe to, and we see I have subscribed to 2 of them, one in the UK and one in Germany. You're going to see how much resources have been allocated for each of those instances. For instance, if I take slow, I see that I have 21 gigahertz, 100 gig, and 6.5 terabyte of storage. Being allocated out of 30 gig of storage percentage, 120 gig of memory, and 12 terabyte of storage. Now, John mentioned early on that you had different offers in the storage, and you can see here standard and SSD accelerated, and we see we have 6 terabytes of standard and 6 terabytes of SSD accelerated. So out of this pool of resources, I'll be able to have virtual data centers and allocate different resource for those different data centers. And we here can see that we have 5 different data centers being provisioned at different levels. And if I drill into this one, we can see out of what has been allocated to this data center, how much is being used. So a very visual representation of what's available and what's being consumed. Now we mentioned networking services, so that's where basically you would see the network services. All network services are going through the gateway, which is basically the public IP you're going to have. And through this public IP, you're going to be able to manage the different networking services available. To have a better view of them, we're just going to click on Managing vCloud Director, and this will bring us to a more detailed view on those services available. So I'm going to select this gateway and check the gateway services. And that's basically where you're going to configure your IPsec, VPN, NAT rules, firewall rules, SSL certificates, and all these kind of things. And they're used to it. So here we can see all firewall which has been available on this edge gateway to enable, SSL connection or RDP connection within my network. The DHCP rules, NAT ruling. And you see again, there's nothing really special here. The only reason I'm showing that is just to show you how familiar that should be with the current environment you'd be using, and how really easy it is to use and be familiar with the interface. So the other key feature that people want to see is the IPsec VPN. So usually that's what you'll be starting to set up to have a secret connection between your vCloud Air instance and your on-prem instance. Also, we mentioned earlier in the advanced networking services, the SSL connections, so that's where you would set that up. So again, just to show you quickly the different services available, select the device you want to manage, and usually just right-click onto it, and you'll see the set of features attached to it, and you can just set them up the same way you would set them up in a traditional on-prem physical environment. Maybe see how we're going to create a VM. So going back into our environment, virtual machines. Virtual machine, very easy. You just click to add a virtual machine. Select. So I have several virtual data center here, so I can select the virtual data center in which I'm going to create my VM. We can use some VMs image which are already provided within the VMware catalog, and you can see some Linux and Windows images, or and usually that's what the customer would do. They would actually import their own VMs from their own environment. So in this case, you can see I've imported a cloud array template, and I can select that and develop that into my and deploy that in my on-prem environment. So give it a name, give it resources, compute drives, and tell it on which network you want to deploy it. And all you need to do then is deploy this virtual machine, and that's easy it is to deploy virtual machine within vCloud, whether it's one made of your own image or one made out of an image we would provide with an operating system we would provide. So I think the key feature here is to show you how easy to actually take and make your own, whether it's from a networking perspective, a VM perspective, and really strongly encourage you to use the service. We'll be here to provide you support to see, depending on what you want to realize or what's the use case, what you're trying to achieve by actually moving some of your workloads into the cloud. And as far as my part goes, I think I'm pretty much done. So I'll leave it to John to conclude there.
Thanks, Deb. Amy, I think that kind of wraps up our demo now at this stage.
Okay, thanks guys. So I'll just change it back to my screen quickly.
Is there any questions for us before we wrap up from our side?
Let's just give it a couple of minutes. So if you do have any questions, there's a questions box just at the right hand side of your screen. Just fill that in. I'll read them out for John and Sebastian.
I think too, Amy, I suppose, before maybe everybody goes, it might be important to mention that we do have a promotion running until the end of the year, in which we do entitle customers to a 30-day free trial. So subject to terms and conditions, if you want to take something like a 3-month, what we call a 3-month SKU or a 3-month service for either infrastructure or DR, we do entitle customers to the first 30 days for free. So it does, the requirement is there is a PO that needs to be placed for the value of the service, but you have up to 28 or 29 days for official confirmation to cancel that service, and once it's cancelled, no invoicing will occur. So we are offering customers that POC to test this service. Should there be some, uncertainty around some of the, the VPN connection or some of the gatewaying, we're quite happy to help customers to go through that service with them.
Great, and yes, so you can mention that in the feedback form at the end. So if you would like to take advantage of that offer. So I have had a question from Pradeep, who's asked if you could elaborate the disaster recovery slightly, like possibly a quick demo. And he's also asked...
We can follow that up, Amy, directly on a one-to-one session, because we have a full presentation that we could do with a demo on DR. So we'd be quite happy to present that on another WebEx session. No problem.
Okay, brilliant. So we can sort that out after the webinar then in that case.
Yeah, and just to give a quick answer there, ultimately the way it's going to work, just deploy an OVF with vSphere application within your vCenter environment, then select the VM and select the target, which is going to be vCloud Air, and it will automatically copy the VM over. Again, we can demonstrate that. It's very straightforward, really very easy to use. So yeah, we'd be happy to show you that.
Okay, so a question here from Lee, who said, how granular in time is the resource billing in vCloud Air? Is it just monthly?
No, so basically we have different offers depending on the subscription you're going to take, whether it's a dedicated environment or a virtual private cloud environment. Then yes, it would be a monthly environment. However, we have an on-demand subscription, and the on-demand subscription will be billed by the hour. So the hour of resource being used. The early usage. Actually, if you and again, I didn't show that in the interface, but if you pass me the control back, I can show you that. If I can.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Sebastian's screen?
Sebastian.
Yeah. Okay.
How much time are we up on time, Amy, or have we got a minute or two? Or?
Yeah, I mean, you've got till 11:30, so there's plenty of time. And also, if anyone does have any questions in the meantime, you can just pop those in the questions box.
So that's my on-demand environment. That is also part of my services, and so that's the other thing as well we didn't mention is we have 3 different kind of core offering: on-demand, virtual private cloud, dedicated, and DR as a service. But you can certainly mix and match the different offering within your own subscription, and you can even link the different services to one another. So you could actually have a VPN between an on-demand environment to a dedicated cloud, for instance. So regarding the resource usage, you have a breakdown. Let's say if I take my VDC, I have 3 VMs turning in there, and I can see that's how much I've been using on an hourly basis and how much each of the resources are costing. If I want, I can have past hour usage, past 24 months to date, and also a detailed report based on previous months' consumption, so I can see how much I've been using on a monthly basis. And that is done at the VDC level, but you can also do that at the higher level, where you can have a consolidation of all the different virtual data center provision in the on-demand environment. So I hope that helps to provide an answer there.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Do you have any other questions, or?
So Lee's also said, where can I find out more about the heterogeneous cloud integration, particularly for Azure?
Yeah, so I think we have some stuff available on the vcloud.vmware.com website. Amy, if you get details too, we can always maybe have a call with Lee and point them in the direction, or have a discussion with one of our networking specialists, architects, to go through that stuff. No problem.
Okay, brilliant. So I have a question here from Stephen, who said, in regards to the dedicated platform, is the quantity of hosts guaranteed? I.e., if one of the two fails, would that impact service?
So as part of dedicated cloud, you get 2 physical ESXis. As part of that, you do get all the, I suppose, the features that we have from the vSphere hypervisor. So exactly like he said, if there is a failover, we'll have vMotion from one host to another, so we won't expect any downtime. Any other questions?
So Stephen has said, would we need to manage the capacity of the VMs to be running on the single available host?
You would, yeah. So, I mean, you'll be in charge of the host, and you will have to make sure you don't over-provision the VM to make sure that all the VM can actually work on the remaining hosts if one was to fail.
Okay, so thanks, guys. I think that's all the questions we have for today. So as mentioned previously, if you could please fill out the feedback form if you would like any more information or to take advantage of the free trial. If you would also prefer, you can contact Jamie Wood. He's our VMware specialist here at Bytes, and his email is just on the screen there. So apart from that, thank you so much, John and Sebastian, for presenting today, and hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.
Great. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, everybody. Cheers. Bye
Thanks,
now.
Bye.